I had a hobby too. Mine happened to be guns and ballistics, and I studied guns and ballistics as much as I could, and I wrote an article about high velocity.
So out of all my years working at Weatherby, the last 5 have been some of the most exciting. Working with Adam, with him running the company.
And to think that I get the opportunity of carrying on my grandfather's legacy 75 years later here in Sheridan, Wyoming, I mean, it really is a dream come true.
Oh, I'm home. Thank God I'm home.
On Our Mark, the Weatherby Podcast.
Welcome back to On Our Mark, the Weatherby Podcast. We've got a really special thing to talk about today because it's not every day that a company launches a new cartridge, and that's what we're here to talk about. Adam, what are we launching?
Yep, Luke, we are launching our 16th production round from Weatherby called the 338 Weatherby RPM, which stands for Rebated Precision Magnum.
Yeah, so there's some special things about this cartridge launch that we're going to get into, but I think probably the first thing on everybody's mind is, 1, what does it compare to, and 2, why? Why 338?
Yeah. We mainly like to come out with new cartridges so people can comment online and say how they're lame and it's like everything else, or it's not fast enough, or it's a barrel burner, or it's too fast, or it's not any better than this.
Yep.
And then they all make those comments, and then we go off and enjoy a good gun and sell a lot of them. It works out pretty good. Am I allowed to say that on a podcast?
I think so. We got some of that on 6.5 RPM because it's really close to 6.5 PRC.
Yeah.
But it's different in the Weatherby family of things. So a lot of people think about, cartridges under the lens of a Remington 700 action.
Yeah.
And our 6 and 9 lug actions are both long actions. And we just kind of have a fat and a skinny action.
Yeah.
And so the whole idea around the RPM cartridge is that it's a long, skinny cartridge, which is very different. Like 6.5 RPM is very different than 6.5 PRC. That's a relatively short, fat cartridge that honestly just doesn't work well with the Mark V action.
Right. I think that's something when people understand the story behind it. It's a cartridge that it does need an explanation. And I think to understand the RPM is to understand really what we set out to do, which I talked a lot about in 2019 when we launched the RPM family with the 6.5 RPM, was, does the world need another 6.5? Well, not necessarily. However, we set out, like we said, to really, in combination with our rifle in our new Backcountry at the time, to have a sub 5-pound rifle that had Magnum performance. There were lighter weight, good Backcountry rifles out there that didn't have Magnum performance. And we knew, because we had a real lightweight action, we called it our best kept secret at the time, was our Mark V 6 lug.
Yep.
When we launched this, we were able to have Magnum performance out of a 5-pound rifle. And really, it made what we call our 6 lug Mark V, our smaller one, and our 9 lugs, our larger one. That 6 lug really took off. Sales of it did very well. People identified and said, wow, I can get this gun and go into the backcountry hunt, mule deer or sheep or whatever with it, but have it be a heck of a lot faster than a Creedmoor. And with a PRC, with the Magnum bolt face, you're just not going to be able to get it into to
that light of a gun.
Size. Correct. And so it was a real purpose-built thing. It took people a while to understand it.
It's more of a system, really, than just a cartridge.
It is.
It's a whole ballistic
system. Because we make guns and ammo. And so, it is built, just if you missed the RPM a few years ago, just to kind of back up, it is a rebated rim. So it doesn't have a traditional belt that Weatherby has in all our other cartridges. It also does not have the rounded Venturi, shoulder that Weatherby is famous for in all our other ones. But because of that and being able to use a rebated round, we're able to use the fattest, longest thing we can stuff in that 6 lug. And we couldn't extend that thing another thousandths of an inch and allow it to feed. I mean, we just said we want to maximize this action. Yep. We came out with the RPM, put in the 6.5. Then pretty much immediately afterwards, we started to say, wow, this is fun. It's really taken off. We were enjoying a lot of our field testing with it and said, what bullet should be next?
Yep.
And we kind of went to the upper end and said at the time, let's throw a 338 in there. And, man, we could have a real lightweight backcountry thumper. That could be, I mean, you're talking, moose and elk and bear and all those kind of things that you could really take with it. And so we set out saying, let's take that same parent case off the 6.5 RPM and let's neck it up to a 338 RPM.
Exactly. So let's talk about a little bit about the efficiency of the cartridge. So
Sure.
One of the things that we kind of found in the development of the 6.5 RPM is we're still getting really respectable velocity, even though it has a fair amount less case capacity than 6.5 300, the fastest of the production 6.5s.
Sure.
So where does the 338 come in?
With
versus,
the 338s.
When there's not a whole lot of compared to 6.5s.
And first off, people are like, man, it's not the fastest 338. We already have the two fastest. We have the 338, 378 Weatherby mag
Correct.
and the 340 Weatherby mag, which are both really fast. Obviously, the one built off the 378, there's nothing that comes close to that. So we have the fast. When we get down into comparing it to other ones, I think some folks are mistaken, and they do think that the case capacity of an odd 6, 30 odd 6, 25 odd 6, is the same as an RPM. That's false.
Correct.
The RPM is a larger case capacity.
It's wider.
Right. So if you were to do water volume in there, it is larger than an odd 6. And so something that's in other words, a 6.5 odd 6 is not as fast as a 6.5 RPM, nor is a 338 odd 6 as fast as a 338 RPM either. So we elongated the case, really built more around like what would be closest would be a 284 Winchester case or a 6.5 284 that's stretched and then of course opened up to a 338. So it is faster. I think when we pulled, let's see, Luke, we got some papers here.
Yeah, we've got some cheat sheets here. So on a 225 AccuBond, that's kind of something that is a standard bullet. We're going to be loading that bullet in the 338 RPM. So basically muzzle velocity on a 338-06 of the three that we're comparing here would be the slowest at 2575. Then a 338 Win Mag at 2750. And then a 338 RPM at 2825. And that's, we looked at a different bullet and on the 338 Win Mag, and we're comparable.
We looked at a TTSX, which we're also going to load it in. I checked some Barnes factory loads of the TTSX, and it was 2,800, and I believe our 338 RPM is 2,800. It's equal. So it's basically pushing a bullet at the same speed, sometimes faster. There may be cases, I guess, where it's slower, but it's pretty much the doggone same speed as a 338 Win Mag, but can go at a Mark 5.6 lug action and can be bought in a backcountry or backcountry carbon. It can be a 5-pound gun with a shorter barrel, all that kind of stuff that you can do with this. So it is a system, as you said.
Yep.
Yeah.
So speaking of the system, let's talk about the
or should we finish the load offerings? Because
we
did
should
hint on that.
We should.
Our factory load offerings.
I'm excited about the guns.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I know.
Yeah. So we do have 4 factory offerings. So we're like all of our cartridges, we're going to offer a select ammo, which is going to be a 225 Hornady interlock bullet, and our muzzle velocity on that is looking at 2,800. Stepping, I guess, the next bullet in the offering is going to be a 185 grain TTSX. Adam, you've been shooting that one quite a bit.
Correct.
3,100 feet per second on that. Then also a 225 grain TTSX 2,800, and then the 225 AccuBond at 2,825. So that's going to be the 4 factory offerings that we have, and there are heavier 338 bullets, obviously. This gun is not necessarily the sweet spot's kind of that 225, 250. As you mentioned, we're trying to get every bit of length out. Those bullets get longer, and it can be a little bit of a challenge for us to feed those. So just, hand loaders beware, I guess I would say that if you want to, you're going to be single feeding if you really load a heavy bullet long.
Yeah, we've loaded some 250s are good, but if you're really looking to, get the heaviest 338 bullet and load it long, it's probably not going to fit in that action.
No, it won't.
And it's not made to.
But you've had some recent experience. We did a podcast recently in Africa with the 185 TTSX. You get that bullet moving pretty quick. That's pretty sweet setup.
Yeah, like we shot 3 kudu, 2 other guys and myself, and we talked about it on the Africa podcast, but 200 yards, 490 yards, and 575 yards with the 185 TTSX going, over 3,000 feet a second. It's 3,100 out of 24-inch barrel. We had a little shorter barrel, so it was going a little over 3,000 feet a second out of a 20-inch, carbon fiber barrel. But it just performed great. So we've used that here recently, been loading it. It's been good.
That was a good segue into what I was about to try to talk about before the cartridges. Is there's some different barrel length things going on, which is different from what we've done before. So today, pretty much all of our Weatherby Magnums and the 9-lug action are 26-inch barrels. Not pretty much, all of them are, period. And then the 6.5 RPM today is only available in a 24-inch barrel.
Correct.
This one's different.
Yes.
I'm really excited about this. I really like hunting with a suppressor. So we're going to have multiple offerings, and it's going to be model specific. So we will have a 24-inch barrel available in an AccuMark. And then
and that would be the velocities we just stated were stated from 24-inch barrels.
Correct.
So that it's apples to apples. Yeah.
Apples to apples. In our development process, we realized that we didn't lose that much velocity when we started to shorten the barrel. So we're also going to have 20-inch carbon fiber barrels in the Backcountry family, and then 18-inch steel barrels in the Backcountry family. So 4 models in the Backcountry family, the Backcountry with the steel receiver and the titanium receiver, and then both of those with carbon barrels and with steel barrels for the 4 offerings.
Right. And to note that the steel barrel on the Backcountry, it's 18 inches, it's shorter, but it is fatter. It's a larger contour. It's more like a number 3 contour. We couldn't put our, what people call a pencil barrel that's on our Backcountry on the 338. The wall thickness just wasn't large enough on there in order to maintain accuracy. And so we did need to stiffen up and make it a little bit heavier on that 18-inch steel barrel. But it still comes in at the same weight. So for 5 pounds on the Backcountry TI, right, Luke? 5 pounds.
5 pounds.
You have 18 inches on a steel barrel. On a heavy steel barrel, you still get that. And then the Backcountry Carbon family, again, the TI, I think, is 5.2 pounds and then a little bit heavier for the steel, right? That 20-inch carbon fiber barrel is a really sweet spot. That's what I just had in Africa, and really took on most of my hunts, and it was pretty cool.
The balance of the gun is great. If you're hunting in dense, brushy country, it can be a little annoying to have a long barrel. I think it's worth it.
Sure.
But now with this offering, it's pretty sweet to have a 20-inch barrel. And then if you want to run a suppressor, you're 26 or so with the suppressor on there.
So when we went from 24 inches to 20, Luke, what did we lose? About 75 FPS?
Yeah, it varies by bullet, but it's about 75 feet per second. So I'm just going to pick one instead of going through all of them. And so if you want to know the individual bullet, get on weatherby.com and check out the 338 RPM landing page, but it's about 75. Some are a little more. To
remove 4 inches of barrel, so it's less than average that we experienced, and so we still got the accuracy. We still got some good velocity. Can maintain just a nimble, lightweight package.
On some of the bigger Weatherby mags, if we had removed 4 inches of barrel, we'd be probably talking like 200 to 300 FPS. So it's substantial.
It's often 50 to 100 per inch. So we did a lot less with this cartridge,
which was really really neat in our development. And so 3 models, basically the AccuMark and the Backcountry Carbon and the Backcountry 24, 20, and 18-inch barrels. So on the boxes, the box data, you want to pay attention because it's going to state, there's going to be an asterisk on the label, and it's going to say this is a velocity with a 24-inch barrel. So you're going to want a chronograph. We'll also have some information on our website in the velocity at the
so we're going to put that up on the website, like if you get a 20, because we're probably going to sell a lot of 20s and a lot of 18s.
It's going to be a lot of questions about it. So
I'm
not trying to hide anything, but it's confusing.
Yes.
I think it's still wise to go and chronograph your gun when you're setting up your dope. But
sure. So we got 18, 20, and 24-inch models of the firearms. So you just gotta keep that in mind.
Yeah. So for the first time, we're going to have multiple barrel lengths and basically the same chambering. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and I guess I should mention at launch, the biggest question, in the past couple of years is, can I get ammo? And we're recording this a few days here at the end of July, right before the launch.
Yep.
And Luke, will there be ammo on the shelf when we launch this rifle and cartridge?
I hope so, because there's ammo on the shelf now.
Right. So I don't know where to go because nobody knows about it.
Correct.
So yes, we have loaded multiple bullets that we just discussed, have loaded ammo on the shelf. So by the time you hear this podcast, we have loaded ammo packaged on our shelf, ready to go out. So that was one thing we wanted to do. And I guess we could note a little bit, this was a long delay due to supply chain shortages, not being able to get enough brass. We felt like any brass we got allocated to us needed to be for existing rifles that were in the field, so we could service our customers with ammunition.
Yeah.
So we are starting to catch up this year. Our loaders are cranking out ammo. I mean, absolutely cranking out stuff. Multiple different calibers, cartridges per month. So we really wanted to wait because we didn't want to allocate the little bit of brass for a new cartridge. Well, now that we're catching up on a lot of our main Weatherby calibers, and by the end of this summer, I mean, almost all of them, we're going to have loaded. Okay, certain bullets we can't get. I get that. But that there's decent rounds in every cartridge available out there. We said, now we'll do this. So we actually began, beginning of 2020, we had rifles and non-production, but just prototype necked up brass from 6.5 RPM.
Your son Connor shot the first animal with 338 RPM, a bear, his senior year of high school. Was he a sophomore in college?
Yeah, it's been a while. He is, actually. And so, his senior year of high school, we went up, and so much like I remember when the 6.5 300 came out, I went and shot a Dull sheep with it, and it was my first sheep and the first thing taken with a 6.5 300 production, which was the fall of 2015. And, of course, my dad had done the 416 Cape Buffalo in 88 or 89. And there was all these firsts of Weatherby's taking animals, and so I thought, you know what, I'm going to let Connor go up and see if he can do that. So we took up 338 RPM in a very prototyped situation at the time.
Yeah, it was true wildcat round at that point, right?
It was.
So it's just necked up, 6.5 RPM, fire-formed brass.
Shot a 22-year-old black bear up here in our backyard in Wyoming with it spring of 2020. So that was the first animal that we took with it. That was a 225 AccuBond.
Yep. And then I took a friend and rider, David Fabian, to Alaska. He shot a caribou with 338 RPM, same 225 AccuBond.
Yep.
Just hammered it, just laid it over.
Yeah.
Caribou, in fairness, aren't necessarily the toughest of animals, but I mean, the performance, the bullet, it did a great job. So,
and that fall of 20, Brenda and I both took our elk and moose with the 338 RPM. Yeah. So we both shot a moose and an elk with it. Brenda actually had the longer shots that year. Her elk was at 580 yards with the 338 and 225 AccuBond, and then using the same setup. Her moose was 450-ish.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
And my elk was at 200 and my moose was at 90. So I was testing the short distance and left the further up for her. But that year, fall of 2020, we were doing a lot of hunting with that as well.
Yeah, and so one of the things people ask about to me sometimes when at different events, like how long can I shoot this? Well, how far can you shoot personally is a different question. But I think it's Mark Thompson that says, and maybe others, but says you need 1,200 foot-pounds of kinetic energy and 1,800 feet per second. And so we kind of hit that line on this cartridge at about 650 yards.
Yeah. If you were to use that line, and I know it can be debated, so you can debate it away. I got a lot of respect for Mark Thompson, kind of shout out Thompson Long Range, and he's got a lot of data to back up the 1,200, 1,800 thing to really have the energy to really ethically kill an animal. And so to go in at 650 yards is more than anybody will shoot an animal, more than most people will ever shoot an animal at, obviously. Yep. So to be able to have that in a small little setup is pretty key.
And I thought it was interesting with the guys on the Hammer Bullets podcast that we did a couple weeks ago. they didn't know Mark, and they said, you know what, we say you need that 1,800 feet per second just to open the bullet. And that's what Mark says. It's like, hey, most bullets have a minimum velocity, and that's about 1,800 feet per second for the bullet to have enough speed to do what it needs to do upon impact.
Yeah, and it's gonna vary. Luke, I think another thing to note, I think a question we're going to get that I've been getting just in the pre-launch questions, obviously, is you're talking a 5, maybe up to a 6-pound rifle with, 200-something grains of bullet. So what does it kick like? And, it's now you're talking to Weatherby here, so recoil is relative.
It is
because
relative.
we shoot a lot of big thumpers, and so I don't know. Every time everybody's been asking me, I said, you should probably go ask my wife because she's been killing a lot of stuff with it, and it doesn't seem to bother her.
There's no follow-up question after that?
No, I'm like, why don't you go
Brenda
ask,
is a
why don't you
tough
go ask
woman.
my wife, how hard it is to shoot. But, Luke, you've been shooting it. Obviously, we have in the backcountry thing, we have with that recoil pad and the carbon fiber, I think it sets it up pretty nice. I think, last week we had some guests in town, and one guy said, I think it kicked about like my 300 Win Mag in the gun I had growing up.
Yeah, that's actually exactly what I was going to say. Is I would probably equate it to a 300 Weatherby. It's my 12-year-old son has killed multiple animals now with the 300 Weatherby. I mean, he's
Sure.
He's like a 90-pound soaking wet, if that. So there's a slight penalty for a super lightweight gun with Magnum performance, but. 6.5 RPM is nothing. And
it's not the cartridge nor the rifles it's going to be paired with is meant to go down on a Saturday and just unload all day at the range. It's just not meant for that. It wouldn't be too incredibly pleasant. Now, to note, I think on all models they do come with our muzzle brake. A lot of people could run a suppressor on them. With the muzzle brake, like on that 20-inch carbon fiber barrel, it's got a titanium muzzle brake on the end. I mean, it really tames it down. The jump isn't that bad. Does it kick more than a 6.5 RPM? Well, yeah. You're not pushing out 120 to 140 grains. You're putting out 185 to 225 grains. So it's just a physics lesson that it is going to kick more. Everybody, though, that's shot it over these past couple years that I've had shoot it, every one of them says, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
the year after Connor shot his bear, I took David Draper up here in the Bighorns, and he shot a good black bear. And I want to say it was 250 yards, but he saw impact. So, it didn't
he was able to keep his scope alignment in there.
Yeah. So, I mean, it wasn't, at the same spot, but.
Sure. Yeah. So it's not bad. People are going to ask. I think really what it does is it opens up. And one of the reasons why now with the 6.5 RPM as well as then the 338 RPM offered in there with the popularity of our backcountry rifles and stuff, it opens up where, heck, you can be walking around in Alaska and not be scared of anything with it, no matter what's in your pocket. And so I think it really, you have this span between the 6.5 and the 338. In between the two, I mean, it pretty much covers everything. What's neat is I shot that 185 TTSX when I was in Africa at some smaller game, like an Impala, which is like, man, practically smaller than our pronghorn here in Wyoming.
Right.
It was like, it was 100-something yards, and it was just a perfect hole. Didn't blow away any meat. The thing just dropped over dead. So, it also could be used, not like, it could be used on smaller game as well.
Sure.
I guess what I'm saying, depending on your distance and your bullet type.
Yeah, it's definitely kind of tailor-made for, I think about Alaska a lot when I think about this cartridge. Moose, caribou, bears, both of them.
Yeah, right.
Black and brown bears, it'd be a great cartridge for. So I've been thrilled throughout our development. I wish it had been faster, but I think it makes sense. And as you said, we have ammo here now. We're ready. We have our other ammo now as well. So we wanted to make sure we took care of all of our existing customers. And we're
what's fun is we do these projects is it's not for everyone. Maybe somebody's like, look, I don't go into the backcountry, have a need for a big boom, lightweight gun. But those that do, I think you'd be hard pressed to find
a better package,
Yeah,
a system.
I've been using it a ton the past couple years, and it's going to be hard to talk me into something else because I love carrying around that gun, and I love having that kind of energy coming out of the muzzle, and so it's super fun. It's not going to be for everyone for every mission, but
this isn't a dual gun.
No, but it's when you want a big bullet and a lot of energy, and you don't want it in a 10-pound gun. I mean, this is your situation to get it in. So for those that get this, I think will be really excited. And I think to understand the RPM series, I really encourage listeners to really understand our Mark V, obviously our premium flagship action since 1958, and we with that 6 lug to really understand the length of that action and really what we're able to do with it with the RPM. It's a fun. I guess I'd say little cartridge for us, but in the world of cartridges, it's actually not very small.
Still a big cartridge, absolutely.
It is. So, yeah, we're excited for the launch of it. It's neat to be able to put something else out there in that RPM family. Excited we have ammo at the launch. We're building guns, I think, as we speak.
Yeah,
so in the 338 RPM.
On a business to business standpoint, we've already begun selling these to distributors and dealers. So at launch, there will be a limited supply of rifles, but some rifles are out in the field, and it'll be added on our custom configurator as well.
Cool.
So you could add that. I paused there because I realized that there's one other thing I think I'd like to tip off on this deal. And maybe it's a reward for people that make it towards the end of this podcast.
What's that?
It's not only going to be available in a right-handed configuration.
Because 9 out of 10 people that will comment on this will say, is it available in lefty?
And guess what?
Yep.
It is.
Wait, Luke, we've never had a left-handed 6 lug action, though. I don't understand.
Until now.
Are we going to do a whole nother podcast just to talk about that?
I think we just let the cat out of the bag right there, but because I can't talk about a left-handed gun. It feels so awkward.
Luke and I are both right-handed.
Yeah.
But for all of you lefties out there, we've only had left-handed in the 9 lug, larger Magnum action, and at the launch of this 338 RPM, and with National or International Lefty Day here, August 13th, 2022.
Yep.
We are launching the 6 lug action in a variety of models, not all models though.
Backcountry family to start.
That's what we're starting with.
Yep.
Will be the left-handed 6 lug, meaning that you lefties that just made it through this podcast, you're in luck.
Yeah, essentially, if it's chambered in the right-handed version in the Backcountry family, it'll be available in the left as well, and the 6-lug action.
Cool. So it means 6.5 RPM, whatever, all those things will be available.
Creedmoor RPM, 280 Ackley, 30-06.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So,
that's awesome.
yeah.
I don't know what to talk about because it's just a bolt on the other side, so I don't know, but people get really excited about it.
Well, I think and that's even, talk about kind of a purpose-built gun. There's not another lightweight rifle available in lefty.
Yeah.
And I think that's why so many people are like,
Or
why
asking
can't I
about
get
it.
this?
I know.
So now you can.
Yeah.
Now you can.
That's going to be cool. When are we going to start shipping those, Luke?
Those will be shipping mid-August. We're going to do the official press release and launch of the 338 RPM on August 1st, which is probably about when this podcast will go
Right.
up in a plus or minus a day, and then the lefty will be announced then, but shipping basically mid-August.
We got to wait for National Left-Hander Day to start shipping them. I mean,
yeah, we just need to there's like a component that we're waiting on, truth be told.
truth be told, we have to make them, and we're waiting on the final part.
There's only a few parts that are different,
Yeah.
but they are substantial because of the way that the Mark V action is built. The safety is built into the bolt, so it's a different. Several components are impacted. So
we could tell them all our woes, how hard it is to build guns, but
not complaining, just stating facts.
That's cool. Well, that's exciting.
Well, I'm looking forward to another season with the 338 RPM, and then who knows what's next.
We might. I don't know.
We may or may not.
Will this be the final cartridge ever from Weatherby? That's the question.
I think not.
Yeah, it's too much fun.
It is too much fun.
Yeah, it is.
Will it be the final cartridge in the RPM family?
I don't know.
Don't know.
Everybody's got their ideas, though, what should be next, right?
They do.
Yeah. Even here, we kind of have a little ongoing thing about what would be fun. So
there's some healthy debates on what should probably be next.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think we're going to have fun with it no matter what.
Yep.
So thanks for listening. If you want to find out more information on the 338 RPM, we have a specific landing page on weatherby.com. You can go there now and check that out. And then go to your local gun shop. Ask them about it. And if they don't have any on order yet, tell them they're wrong. Thanks for listening.